Lauren Boebert, Republican Congresswoman, said another bizarre thing, as she is very known for doing. And I want to take a look at this and then talk about a few other things. But she's saying that we are in the last days and you get to be part of the ushering in the second coming of Jesus. So a lot of people I now see on the right believe that like the signs they're seeing from the Democratic Party and the horrible regime that is taking control is an example of the end times or something, and how everything they're seeing is leading to Jesus, who's going to come and do whatever he's going to do, and they're going to get to witness that. And it's a little bit sad. And I always wonder with these people, at what point will you admit that you were wrong about this prediction, right? That Jesus isn't coming back right now. And this isn't a sign of the second coming of Christ, just because Biden became president or something like that. Which they truly believe that. But we heard similar things that Barack Obama was the Antichrist or whatever. And it's very, very bizarre that this is now the discussions coming from our Congress people. Take a look.
But I'm so happy to be in Knox County. Thank you so much, Congressman Burchett, for inviting me and my husband here. I just want to start really with 2 words. Let's go, Brandon. It is something else to be serving in our nation's capital right now. In all seriousness, there is a calling on each and every one of you to be involved and to rise up. It is an honor to serve in this time. I believe that many of us in this room believe that we are in the last of the last days, and that's not a time to complain. That's not a time to grumble, to be dismayed, to be disheartened, but a time to rejoice. You get to be a part of ushering in the second coming of Jesus.
So,
God, that is so ridiculous.
I know. So, again, I just don't get how you can proudly say those things, watch them not happen, and then continue to believe similar things, because we've heard these predictions forever. This is the end times. This is it. All, the world's ending now. And, in this case, she's talking about Jesus coming, the second coming of Jesus, or many other world ending type scenarios we've heard from people. And looking at what is it? What is it? Biden? Really? Just a typical politician who became president? The quintessential perfect example of someone who's bound to become president. He got into the Senate when he was, 2 years old, 3 million years ago, and then has been there ever since. Of course, at some point, he's going to rise up pretty high. He's the president. He's passing just goodish, not goodish, great things, but he's just kind of a good president, whatever. Even if you disagree with him, kind of a typical Democratic president in this moment in time. It's so bizarre that they take what we're seeing right now in our country as an example and proof that it's the end times. They're going to witness the second coming of Christ. That's wild that that's actually going on in the heads of people as they walk around day to day and they watch the news and they think, see, this is a sign.
What I don't understand is the amount of times that they say it, and every single time they believe it. So last time, okay, it is what it is. We'll move on. It wasn't the coming of Jesus Christ. But this time it is. Oh, no, it's this time. How does that make sense?
Right. And I'm fine with you believing that. It's just strange to believe. It's just strange to believe that these are the signs of that's happening. But to me, this is not a perfect example, but another representation of this intermingling we're seeing between our government officials and the way in which they want to project the religion onto their role as a government official. And Lauren Boebert's a great example of that. She said as much. I'm so tired of this separation of church and state junk. Take a look at this.
The reason we had so many overreaching regulations in our nation is because the church complied. The church is supposed to direct the government. The government is not supposed to direct the church. That is not how our founding fathers intended it. And I'm tired of this separation of church and state junk that's not in the Constitution. It was in a stinking letter, and it means nothing like what they say it does.
So awesome how proud she is to be so ignorant. So that to me blows my mind, because people on the left get called against freedom of speech for not speaking out enough against or being for Twitter taking some accounts down. Are we not supposed to call that against freedom of religion when you explicitly say, I'm tired of that separation of church and state junk? So in the context of that, you see why all of these statements you're making about the second coming of Christ or whatever concern me, not because I have any issue with you having the religious beliefs that you have, but because you're not understanding, and a lot of these figures aren't understanding the separation we're supposed to have. And what she said was just comes from a letter. No, that particular language, separation of church and state, comes from a letter from Thomas Jefferson, who was articulating what the intention was behind what was being set up. So we use shorthand to say separation of church and state, even though those words aren't in the Constitution. But Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof. So what it's trying to say there is the government cannot establish, cannot give preferential treatment, cannot use the institution of government to support one religion over another, because then you're standing in the way of the free exercise for people to choose to practice whatever religion they'd like or no religion at all. And that is crucial. And then her hand waving, because they talk so often about the founding fathers. I think they're more obsessed with making them out to be gods than the left is. But if you're gonna care about what the founding fathers said, it's clear within the writings that she waved off that was the intention. The separation of church and state concept was what the text that is in the Constitution was trying to outline. And so the complete celebration of throwing that in the garbage blows my mind. That's why we call them Christian nationalists too, because they hold this ideology that is no longer respecting the fact that we can have our government institutions and we can have our church and we can love that people are able to practice their religion without making it something that will become a part of the government, and thus inevitably this will happen if you allow the government to become so interwoven with church, oppress groups that don't follow that religion. Look at every single theocratic government ever. But take a look at this from Marjorie Taylor Greene. It's not just me using the term Christian nationalist, it's her.
Christian nationalism is something to be scared of, they're lying to you. If Christian nationalism is something to be scared of, they're lying to you. And they're lying to you on purpose, because that is exactly the temperature change that is happening in America today, and they can't control it. They can't control it, and that's what terrifies them the most. You see, if we're going to label it Christian nationalism, this movement will actually be the movement that stops the school shootings. This will be the movement that stops the crime in our streets. This will be the movement that stops the sexual immorality and teaches children.
What is happening in our country? It's so brutal. She's like, Christian nationalism, something that could not be more diametrically opposed to the intentions of the Constitution and freedom of speech and the long record we've had of being able to sort of separate those things, and saying that's what's going to come in and stop school shootings. Wonderful.
How does that tie together?
No clue. I don't know.
She is so infuriating.
Agreed. Could not agree more. And then, reminder, I know we get new people watching the show every single day. I should introduce more often. This is Ben Hatmaker, producer of the show, speaking you hear. And then Charlie Kirk saying a similar thing that we heard from Lauren Boebert.
Because South American and Central American countries are actually very religious and very Catholic. So they're going into religious countries with almost missionary fervor to go and try to make these countries less religious. And again, there is no separation of church and state. It's a fabrication. It's a fiction. It's not in the Constitution. It's made up by secular humanists. It's derived from a single letter that Thomas Jefferson wrote to the Danbury Baptist Convention. Of course, we should have church and state mixed together. Our founding fathers believed in that. We can go through the details of that. They established literally a church in Congress. Anyway,
that's so, God, he thinks his audience is so dumb. Yeah, they set up a church in Congress because they were like, a lot of the people who are lawmakers are probably want to go to church, just like how they have a gym in Congress. They just were giving an opportunity for people to be able to practice their religion if they want to at their workplace, which is totally fine. I mean, we've gotten to a place where they're just 100% on board admitting, you know that we've had woven into the fabric of the American system of government for a very long time. I don't care. That's stupid. Let's throw it out. Because we like the idea of a theocracy. That's what they're advocating for, a theocracy. Again, this is not at all the left being against religion. Beautiful. Practice what religion you want, or don't practice religion at all. I don't care. It's awesome. I support that completely.
Yes.
This has to do with you trying to put that onto other people.
Precisely. And that is so just aggravating.
Yes. And so advocating for a system of government that no longer makes that clear and aggressive line present is very dangerous. And we've seen historical examples of when that goes very, very horribly wrong. And that's part of why we've been so strict in the way we discuss this issue for a very long time as a country. Because while maybe right now nothing horrible has been caused because of them saying this type of thing, it is inevitable. And you have to keep the lines clear. Just like how you have to be very strict on not violating people's freedom of speech. You just can't play around with these things. Otherwise, you very quickly are in a bad spot. So incredibly dangerous stuff there from all of those right-wingers.